أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ثم الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه الأخيار أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, we read together the next topic, which is lesson or topic number 88 in the book Alqirā-atur-Rāshida for Arabic proficiency. Let's not forget, we are learning it for proficiency. We are not learning it so that whenever we pick this particular book, we can understand. We are learning it so that whatever we learn here, we can use it when we are speaking, when we are writing articles, when we are using our Arabic outside this book. Because when you learn it and you are told the meanings and you write the meanings on the words, whenever you pick the book, of course, you can understand the words and stuff like that. You can also teach the book by following the meanings that has been given you. But then what we want is that you are able to use the vocabularies outside this in other areas. So when you are at a conference to talk, when you are somewhere, a topic comes up to you, you want to discuss it, you should be able to use your vocabularies and expressions acquired from various sources, this one inclusive. So inshallah, we look at our next topic, which is كيف تعلمت الإسلام في الأندلس النصرانية. So somebody is being asked, how did you learn Islam in the Christian Andalus? So this adjective here, bimana, there was a time where Al-Andalus was Al-Islamiyya. Andalus was Islamic at some time, and Andalus, the Muslim lost grip of Andalus, and then it went into the hands of the non-Muslims, the Christians, let's put it that way. So he's asking that in the period where Andalus was Christian, how did you learn Islam in there? Because it wasn't a comfortable time for the Muslims to learn Islam in Andalus within that period. And so he's asking, كيف تعلمت الإسلام? How did you learn Islam in the Christian Andalus? Andalus bimana Spain, yani today Spain. Jamil. Okay. So you know who is being asked the question. So when he says here, أطلعني الله على دين الإسلام بواسطة والدي, of course we need to know who is writing this thing. And so per the book system, you know, normally they will put the author or the source where they found the thing at the end. So it says, Sidi Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Rafi al-Andalusi. Okay. About some 400 years ago, almost some 400 centuries ago, almost. Okay, so he is the one that is giving us this narration. Okay, so when he says atla'ani Allahu ala al-Islam, atla'a, to make somebody see something, to make somebody know something, to show somebody something. So when I say atla'ani akhi ala hadha al-kitab, bimana, my brother showed me this book, or my brother made me see this book. My brother acquainted me with this book. He introduced this book to me. Okay, atla'a, for somebody to show you something, to get you acquainted with it, to give you knowledge about it. Okay, it says atla'ani Allahu ala din al-Islam biwasitati walidi. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala introduced me to Islam by way of my father. Walidi bimana alladhi waladani, my biological father. So see, he is telling us here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed him about Islam, showed him Islam, acquainted him with Islam, with his father as the medium. Biwasitati walidi. Then he says, Rahmatullahi alayhi, may Allah's mercy be upon him. Then he says, وَأَنَا بْنُ سِتَّةِ أَعْوَامٍ. Then I was 6 years. أَوْ أَقَلْ, or less. So, wow here is wow al-hal. Yani, while I was 6 years old, or less. مَعَ أَنِّي كُنْتُ إِذْ ذَاكَ أَرُوحُ إِلَى مَكْتَبِ النَّصَارَى لِأَقْرَأَ دِينَهُمْ. He says, although, or even though, إِذْ ذَاكَ, أي حين ذاك, or آن ذاك, or حين إذن, during that time, it says, although during that time, kuntu aruhu, I used to go to, raha yaruhu bimana dhahaba yadhhabu. We normally give the meaning of that in the morning. When you say raha bimana dhahaba fi sabah. Okay? I think we've seen this rawhat wa gadawat in this same book. Okay, so when it says إِذَّاكَ أَرُوحُ إِلَى مَكْتَبِ النَّصَارَى, it says, although that time I used to go to the Maktab al-Nasara, the Christian library, لِأَقْرَأَ دِينَهُمْ, to read their religion. So he used to go when he was little to read the religion of the Christians in their library. ثُمَّ أَرْجِعَ إِلَى بَيْتِي فَيُعَلِّمَنِي وَالِدِي دِينَ الْإِسْلَامِ. And then I will return to my house, and then my father will teach me the religion of Islam. فَكُنْتُ أَتَعَلَّمُ فِيهِمَا مَعًا. فِيهِمَا هنا referring to the maktab and then the bayt. So he will read from the library about the Christian religion, because then it was a Christian state taken by the Christians. It was the Christian place, the country was for the Christians. And so the library, you go there, you find books about Christianity. Islam was being fought against, and so you didn't go finding books on what Islam is about. Then when he comes home, his father will sit him down and teach him Islam, because his father was a Muslim. Okay. It says, فَكُنْتُ أَتَعَلَّمُ فِيهِمَا مَعًا. I used to study in both of them together. وَسِنِّي حِينَ حُمِلْتُ إِلَى مَكْتَبِهِمْ أَرْبَعَةُ أَعْوَامٍ. And my age was sinni, ay bimana wa umri. My age when I was carried to their library was 4 years. My age when I was carried to their library, the Maktab al-Nasara, was 4 years. I was 4 when I was introduced to their library. فَأَخَذَ وَالِدِي لَوْحًا مِنْ عُودِ الْجَوْزِ. My father took a slate. When we say lawh, a slate, he took a slate made of min huna bimana masnu'un min udil jawzi. I made from the sticks of jawz, yani nuts. I think it has a name, nuts wood or something like that. I think that should be the name. I think it's nuts wood or something like that. Nutwood. You could check on that. Nut wood is used to make all these olden guitars. If you check on Odul Jaws, you see how it will come. It is a very soft, it has a very smooth surface that accepts like colorful writing and all that. So, أَخَذَ وَالِدِي لَوْحًا. My father took or made a slate, lawh, a slate or a board, min udil jawzi, from that nut wood. كأني أنظر الآن إليه. إليه, the he here refers to the lawh. It refers to the lawh. So he says that it is as if now I am looking at it. I am looking at the slate. مملسا. مملس بمعنى smooth. Okay, having a smooth surface. من غير طفل ولا غبرة. Without the surface of the slate was mumallas, bimana it was smooth, and it didn't have tuflin. The tuflin is what they call the argil, bimana the potter's clay. Some residues from stone, colorful, that affects a surface. They call it the potter's clay. So there was no dust. Basically, there was no dirt on its surface, nor dust. Gabara, bimana, dust. Okay, so there was no argil or potter's clay, that is that kind of dirt, wasn't on its surface. Wala gabara, no dust on it. Okay, this gabara, I think, is supposed to be a Quranic word code. We have in the Quran, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa sallim. Aywa. We have in Surah Abasa, وجوه يومئذ عليها غبرة. In Surah Abasa, that is chapter 80. We have وَوُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَلَيْهَا غَبَرَةٌ. And many faces on that day, on them there shall be dust. غَبَرَةٌ بمعنى dust. So he says that the surface of the slate was smooth such that it had no potter's clay on it, nor did it have dust on it. فَكَتَبَ لِي فِيهِ حُرُوفَ الْهِجَاءِ. My father wrote for me the Arabic alphabet, حروف الهجاء, on it. He wrote the حروف الهجاء on it. Says وَهُوَ يَسْأَلْنِي حرفا حرفا عن حروف النصارى تدريبا وتقريبا. My father was asking me, so he would write the حروف الهجاء on the board for me to study. He would be asking me harfan harfan, letter by letter, about the huruf al-nasara, the English alphabet or the Christian alphabet that was used then. Why? Tadriban, as a way of training. Wa taqriban, and as a way of bringing the Arabic alphabet closer to me. Because then the child who is narrating this to us was familiar already reading English books. His father wanted to teach him Islam from home because Islam wasn't taught in any madrasa. There was no madrasa at all. Muslims are being sent out. So what he was doing is that he will write the Arabic alphabets and be teaching him on the slate. And what he would also do is that he will make him read the English alphabet. You say A, B, C, D, like that. What was he using that for? Tadriban, as a way of training him. وَتَقْرِيبًا, and also bringing the Arabic alphabet close to him. How? He explains. He says, فَإِذَا سَمَّيْتُ لَهُ حَرْفًا أَعْجَمِيًّا. When I mention to him a foreign alphabet, yani an alphabet that is not the Arabic alphabet, what does the father do? كَتَبَ لِي حَرْفًا عَرَبِيًّا. He will write an Arabic alphabet. فَيَقُولُ لِي, and he will tell me, هَكَذَا حُرُوفُنَا. This is how our huruf is. حروفنا هنا بمعنى حروفنا الإسلامية. So when the son says A, the father will write Alif. When the son says B, he will write Ba. C, he will write something like Sin. So he did that for the son, already using your first language to learn the second language. That is what is done. Already the son knows the English and could read. So the father is using the English he knows to teach him how the Arabic alphabets go. And when he says A and the father writes Alif, B he writes Ba, C he writes Sin, and then he will tell him, هكذا حروفنا. This is how our huruf are. حتى استوفى لي جميع حروف الهجاء في كرتين. Until he covered, استوفى بمعنى to do something, to cover the whole of something. Istawfa. When I say my money is with you, and I say استوفيت منك مالي. استوفيت منك مالي بمعنى أخذت مالي كله. أخذت مالي كله منك. I took all of my money from you. استوفى بمعنى to take everything or to cover everything. So it says حتى استوفى لي جميع حروف الهجاء في كرتين, until he covered all the حروف الهجاء, the alphabets in Arabic, في كرتين يعني in 2 times. So they did that twice, and then he had taught him the whole of the Arabic alphabet. كرة بمعنى مرة. كرة بمعنى one time. Okay. كرة بمعنى one time. And then we have the كرتين بمعنى twice. 2 moments or 2 times. You have in Surah Al-Mulk, that is chapter 67, verse number 4. It says, ثم رجع البصر كرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير. Says, then turn back the eye again and again, yani twice. Your look shall come back to you confused while it is fatigued. So you could check the verse out, Surah Al-Mulk, chapter 67, verse 4. You see, ثم رجع البصر كرتين. كرتين بمعنى twice. Okay. كرة, the singular is كرة, كافرة تاء مربوطة. Says, فلما فرغ عن الكرة الأولى. When he finished, فرغ عن. If I say فرغت عن العمل, بمعنى I'm done with the work. يعني انتهيت منه. Says, فلما فرغ عن الكرة الأولى. When he finished the first round, أوصاني أن أكتم ذلك. He told me that I should keep that a secret. كتم, to hide something. When we say كتم, to hide something. In the Burda of Imam al-Busiri, I think the chapter 2, Tahzir al-Nafs and al-Hawa, there is a line that makes use of this word, where he says, لو كنت أعلم أني ما أوكره كتمت سرا بدا لي منه بالكتم. كتم بمعنى to hide something. I think it's also a word that is apparent in the Quran. I wish we could just come by it so that we see where we could refer, we could check that verse from. Let me see if I could quickly find that verse for us. Okay, we have in Surah Al-Baqarah verse number 140. أم تقولون إن إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق ويعقوب والأسباط كانوا هودا أو نصارى. Says قل أأنتم أعلم أم الله ومن أظلم ممن كتم شهادة عنده من الله وما الله بغافل عما تعملون. Says ومن أظلم ممن كتم شهادة. And who is more unjust than he who conceals a testimony? كتم, to conceal, to hide. So here he tells us that فَلَمَّا فَرَغَ عَنِ الْكَرَّةِ الْأُولَى, when my father finished the first round, he finished teaching me for the first round, أَوْصَانِي بِمَعنَى نَصَحَنِي, he advised me, he admonished me, أَنْ أَكْتُمَ ذَلِكَ, that I should conceal that. Nobody should know that my father is teaching me Arabic or teaching me Islam, or he will be in problem, the father will be in problem. حَتَّى عَنْ وَالِدَتِي, the father told him even the mother shouldn't know he's teaching him. Wa ammi, and his paternal uncle. Wa akhi, and my brother. Wa jami'a qarabati, and all my relatives. Or jami'a qarabatina, and all our relatives. Wa amarani alla ukhbira ahadan min al-khalqi, and he ordered me not to inform anybody among the creation, yani anybody at all. ثم شدد علي الوصية, and then he emphasized the admonition, the advice, he emphasized it. وصار يرسل والدتي فتسألني, and he, the father, will send the boy's mother to the boy to ask the boy, ما الذي يعلمك, what is your, ما الذي يعلمك, what is your father teaching you? So the father was teaching him Islam, but because he wanted the son to conceal that thing that was going on between them, he will deliberately tell him, don't tell your mother, not even your brother, not your uncle, not anyone on earth. To test the son's obedience to that advice, the father will send the mother of the boy to the boy to ask him, what are you being taught? What is he teaching you? فَأَقُولُ, so here the son is saying, and when my mother asks me, أَقُولُ لَهَا, I say to her, لَا شَيْءَ, nothing. أَخْبِرْنِي بِذَلِكَ وَلَا تَخَفْ, the mother will tell him, tell me about it, tell me about that, and do not fear, وَلَا تَخَفْ. لِأَنِّي عِنْدِي الْخَبَرُ بِمَا يُعَلِّمُكَ لِأَنِّي عِنْدِي الْخَبَرُ بِمَا يُعَلِّمُكَ. The mother will try to convince the child because he is still young, about 6 years. The mother will try to tell him, oh, tell me, because I already know what he is teaching you, just to test the child. He says, فَأَقُولُ لَهَا, and I would tell her, أَبَدًا مَا هُوَ يُعَلِّمُنِي شَيْئًا, يعني لَيْسَ يُعَلِّمُنِي شَيْئًا, he is not teaching me anything. وَكَذَلِكَ كَانَ يَفْعَلُ أَمِّي, and my uncle, paternal uncle, was also doing the same thing. وَأَنَا أُنْكِرُ أَشَدَّ الْإِنْكَارِ, and I was refuting the most severe refutance, or the most severe refutation. So whenever they come to me, I refute they try all their best, and I keep to my ground that he is not teaching me anything. Al-inkar, refutation. Ankara yunkiru, ana unkiru, that is the fi'l. He says, ثُمَّ أَرُوحُ إِلَى مَكْتَبِ النَّصَارَى, and then I will go in the morning. In the verb aruhu, there is the meaning of morning in it. ثُمَّ أَرُوحُ إِلَى, like you say, أذهب في الصباح. So ثُمَّ أَرُوحُ إِلَى مَكْتَبِ النَّصَارَى, and then I go to the library of the Christians, وإلى الدار, and to the house. فيعلمني والدي. So I go to the library, I come to the house, then my father will teach me. إلى أن مضت مدة, until a period passed. فأرسل إلي من إخوانه في الله الأصدقاء. And my father sent to me among his friends who were Muslims, he sent some of them to me. فلم أقر لأحد قط بشيء. And I did not acknowledge to anyone anything at all. أقر أقر. أقر بمعنى to acknowledge, to attest to something, to pronounce something. Okay. So he says, فلم أقر لأحد قط بشيء. I did not inform or affirm or acknowledge anything to any of them. Whenever they ask me, أنا أنكر ما يقولون. مع أنه رحمه الله تعالى قد ألقى نفسه للهلاك لإمكان أن أخبر بذلك عنه. Even though my father, that is, he didn't mention the father, he says مع أنه رحمه الله تعالى, أي مع أنه, even though he, my father, had thrown himself to halak, destruction. How? لإمكاني أن أخبر بذلك عنه, because I could inform anybody what he is teaching me. And فيحرق لا محالة, and he will be burnt, no doubt. لا محالة بمعنى no way, no two ways about it, no doubt. So if the son mistakenly goes out and tells anybody, my father is teaching me Islam, my father is teaching me this, the father will be burnt. That was the condition then. So the father had sacrificed himself teaching the son Islam, even though this was the penalty if it is found out. لكن أيدنا الله سبحانه وتعالى بتأييده. أيد, to support. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala supported us with his support. Ta'yid is the noun. Ayyada is the verb. Ta'yid is the noun. Support. وَأَعَانَنَا عَلَى ذِكْرِهِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assisted us in his remembrance. He aided us. أَعَانَ بِمَعنَى أَيَّدَ. He aided us in his remembrance. وَشُكْرِهِ, and gratitude, showing gratitude to him. وَحُسْنِ إِبَادَتِهِ, and also perfecting his worship. بَيْنَ أَظْهُرِ أَعْدَاءِ الدِّينِ, among the most apparent of the enemies of the religion, among the most severest of the enemies of the religion. أَظْهُرِ أَعْدَاءِ الدِّينِ, يعني هم أظهر أعداء للإسلام. They were the most enemy, they had the most enmity towards Islam. After Salat, among the azkar that came in Sunnah that we do, Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatika. We read that dua. That is what he's saying. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aided them in fulfilling that. It says, وَقَدْ كَانَ وَالِدِي رَحِمَهُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى يُعَلِّمُنِي حِينَئِذٍ مَا كُنْتُ أَقُولُهُ عِنْدَ رُؤْيَتِي لِلْأَصْنَامِ. He says, وَقَدْ كَانَ وَالِدِي, my father, may Allah have mercy on him, used to teach me, حِينَئِذٍ, then. That is the إِذْ or آنَذَاك or حِينَئِذٍ. My father used to teach me then, مَا كُنْتُ أَقُولُهُ, what I should say, عِنْدَ رُؤْيَتِي لِلْأَصْنَامِ, when I see the idols. Whenever I see idols, because there is a statue made for Jesus, a statue made for Mary, and all those statues are not befitting of God Almighty. So my father taught him that whenever he sees those statues that are asnam, okay, those idols, my father used to teach him what he should say. وَذَاكَ أَنَّهُ قَالَ لِي, and that is that he said to me, إِذَا أَتَيْتَ إِلَى كَنَائِسِهِمْ, if you come to their synagogues or their places of worship, وَرَأَيْتَ الْأَصْنَامَ, and you see idols, فَقْرَأْ فِي نَفْسِكَ سِرًّا, read within yourself in secret. فَقْرَأْ فِي نَفْسِكَ سِرًّا, read within yourself in secret. قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى, the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ ضُرِبَ مَثَلٌ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ. Says, oh, who you have believed, a parable has been said, so listen to it. Listen to the parable. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ لَن يَخْلُقُوا ذُبَابًا وَلَوِ اجْتَمَعُوا لَهُ. Those that you are calling other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will not create even They will not create even a fly. Okay? They will not create even dhubab, a fly. They can't create even a dhubab. وَلَوْ اجْتَمَعُوا لَهُ. Even if they should gather for that purpose, all of them should gather to create that. They can't do that. And so he says that وَإِن يَسْلُبُهُمْ الذُّبَابُ. يَسْلُب from salaba, to take something from somebody. وَإِن يَسْلُبُهُمُ الذُّبَابُ شَيْئًا. These idols that you are calling, if the fly should come and pick something from the idols, لَا يَسْتَنْقِذُوهُ مِنْهُ. These idols cannot take it back from the fly. So if, let's say, an idol is there, you are worshipping it, a bird can come and shit on the idol, a bird can come and pick something from the idol cannot move. لا يسمع ولا يتحرك. Okay, so that is what the verse is saying. Those that you are calling other than Allah, they cannot create even a fly, even if they all come together to put their effort together. And if the fly picks something from them, they can't take that thing from the fly back. And he says, ضَعُفَ الطَّالِبُ وَالْمَطْلُوبُ. This is where the one seeking and the one being sought from, both of them are weak. ضَعُفَ الطَّالِبُ وَالْمَطْلُوبُ. The one seeking and the one being sought from. So the idols are weak. The one seeking from the idols is also weak. ضَعُفَ الطَّالِبُ وَالْمَطْلُوبُ. Okay. It says again, wa, and also the verse, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ إِلَى آخِرِهِ. This chapter, Surah Al-Kafirun, to the ending. Okay. He asked him to read that too, in his heart. وَغَيْرُ ذَلِكَ مِنَ الْآيَاتِ الْكَرِيمَةِ. And other verses from the Quran. وَقَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى. And the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَبِكُفْرِهِمْ وَقَوْلِهِمْ عَلَى مَرْيَمَ بُهْتَانًا. And with their disbelief and their saying upon Maryam, the mother of Jesus, alayhi salam. They are saying upon the mother of Jesus, they kind of forge lies against her. Buhtan, they just allege anything against the mother of Mary. And so he says that وَبِكُفْرِهِمْ وَقَوْلِهِمْ عَلَى مَرْيَمَ بُهْتَانًا عَظِيمًا. They forged a grievous calumny. They slandered her. When we say buhtan, that is the meaning, to forge a lie against somebody. So their disbelief and also they are forging lies against the mother of Mary. They will say that she is the mother of God. They will say she's giving birth with God. A lot of all these are fabrication, and there are statements that are false accusations. She didn't do that. They are lies. Then وَقَوْلِهِمْ إِنَّا قَتَلْنَا الْمَسِيحَ عِيسَى ابْنَ مَرْيَمَ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. And they are saying also that we have indeed killed the Messiah, the Isa, the son of Mary, messenger of Allah. وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ. Allah is saying, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ. They didn't kill him, neither did they hang him. وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. But that was made to look like that to them. وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُ مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِلَّا اتِّبَاعَ الظَّنِّ. And those that differed in that regards, لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُ, they are in doubt. Okay, there are issues right now. There are debates all over. Was Jesus hanged or not? Even among the same religion, there are still debates. Was he really hanged or not? Okay, so it's not a matter that is they even have firm understanding on. It's مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ. They do not have knowledge of it. إِلَّا اتِّبَاعَ الظَّنِّ. Except they are following their gestures, their own thought. وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ يَقِينًا. And they indeed did not kill him. But رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala carried him to himself. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَزِيزًا حَكِيمًا. And Allah is almighty and all wise. So these are the verses his father taught him to be reading. Then he says, فَلَمَّا تَحَقَّقَ وَالِدِي رَحِمَهُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى أَنِّي أَكْتُمُ أُمُورَ دِينِ الْإِسْلَامِ عَنِ الْأَقَارِبِ فَضْلًا عَنِ الْأَجَانِبِ. And when it became firm to my father, or when my father affirmed, فَلَمَّا تَحَقَّقَ وَالِدِي, when my father affirmed, may Allah have mercy on him, that I conceal أمور الدين الإسلام. I concealed the matters of the religion of Islam because that was dangerous. I concealed it from al-aqarib, from relatives. فضلا عن الأجانب. So I conceal it from the relatives and more so to the foreigners. If I conceal it to the relatives, of course, فضلا عن الأجانب, the foreigners are even, I conceal it from them even more. أمرني أن أتكلم بإفشائه لوالدتي. So the father now affirming that the son will really keep the matters of Islam secret. He now understands how dangerous it is. He now ordered the son to talk about it to his mother. أمرني أن أتكلم بإفشائه لوالدتي. So he asked the son, oh, go tell your mother that this is Islam and you are going to talk about it and all that. وعمي وبعض أصحابه الأصدقاء فقط. He added him to tell these people. And what happened? وكانوا يأتون إلى بيتنا فيتحدثون في أمر الدين وأنا أسمع. And now these people will come to their house and they will be speaking about the religion, أمر الدين وأنا أسمع, and I will be listening. فلما رأى حزمي مع صغر سني, and when my father saw my firmness, my resoluteness, he realized that I'm very resolute in that regards, in matters of Islam. That is hazm, determination, resoluteness. Even though I was small, مع صغر سني, فرح غاية الفرح. He got very excited because he realized now he's safe, his son is safe. وعرفني بأصدقائه, and now he introduced me to his friend, وأحبائه, and his loved ones, وإخوانه في دين الإسلام, and his brothers in the religion of Islam. فاجتمعت بهم واحدا واحدا, and so I met them one after the other. I met them one after the other. And then he says, وسافرت الأسفار, I traveled a lot of trips, لأجتمع بالمسلمين الأخيار من جيان, to meet with top-notch Muslims, yani top scholars and those people, top personalities, من جيان, from Jayan. مدينة ابن مالك, مدينة ابن مالك, Ibn Malik of Alfiyat ibn Malik, Lamiyat al-Af'al and all that. That Ibn Malik is the one he's talking about here because he's from Jayan, al-Andalus. And then he says, Min Jayan, Madinat ibn Malik, the town of Ibn Malik. I travel from there, ila Granada, to Granada. Wa ila Qurtuba, Cordoba, today's Cordoba. Wa Ishbiliya, and Ishbiliya, wa Talaytila, I think Talaytila, currently called Toledo or something like that. Toledo, I think. Wa Ghayriha, and other ones, min mudunil jazirati al-khadra, among the cities of the green island. أعاد الله تعالى للإسلام, may Allah return it to Islam. فتلخص لي من معرفتهم أني ميزت 7 رجال, and it summarized to me, my meeting them summarized to me that أني ميزت, that I have. Now when you say mayyaza, it has some two major meanings we will give two here. When we say mayyaza, bimana, to become aware of, to become to get to know something, okay, to get to know something, and also to have, for something to be a characteristics of you. When you say mayyaztu kadha, bimana, that thing has become a characteristic of me. So we are picking it from these two meanings. So when it says mayyaztu 7 rijalin, bimana, I have the characteristics of these 7 men. It summarized to me, fatalakhas li, it was summarized to me, min ma'rifatihim, from knowing them, that I, anni, mayyaztu 7 rijalin, that I have the characteristics of 7 men. Or anni mayyaztu 7 rijalin, that I have become aware of 7 men. These two meanings are okay, it fits here. These 7 men, كانوا كلهم يحدثونني بأمور غرناطة. All of them used to tell me about issues of غرناطة. وما كان بها في الإسلام, and what was in there about Islam. what was in Granada about Islam, or what Granada has to do with Islam. حينئذ, then. وبما أقوله بعد, and what I will say after. وقلته قبل, and what I've said before. They gave me a lot of information. فسندي آل, and so he's saying that his sanad, his chain of narration. When we say my sanad, right now, if I tell you my sanad in Lugha Arabiya is from maybe Ustaz Ahmed Mughawiri, or Ustaz Al-Hussein of University of Ghana, or Ustaz Mubarak, or Ustaz, well, I mention any Ustaz at all. Those, my asatiza, their chain to their top asatiza is their sanad. So normally you see scholars, mostly as I've seen in Egypt, when they teach a book of hadith in particular, they will narrate their sanad to you. So if you go to him and you learn, let's say, Ibn Majah, you learn Sunan Abi Dawud, you learn Sahih Muslim, Sahih Bukhari, he will give you his sanad, such that now your sanad will also be from him to his top scholar, to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Till date, we have sanad linked up to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have scholars that can mention to you, even the Ahmad Dodo also, of I think is in Mauritania also, when he recently went to, I think one of these countries, is it Canada or UK, he mentioned his sanad in, I think, Ilm al-Hadith to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They will mention this sheikh taught him, the sheikh was also taught by this sheikh, also taught by this sheikh, taught by this sheikh to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when that person teaches you, your sanad also starts from that person. So here, because he met these 7 men and he knew them, and they've now taught him issues, they've told him a lot of things. Now, his sanad is also of high standard. For sanadi alin, so his sanad is also of a high standard. لكونه, due to the fact that ما تم إلا بواسطة واحدة بيني وبين الإسلام بها, except that his sanad is alin because he picked from these 7 men, roughly. That is the meaning. He picked from these people that he met. And these people, they are definitely, one of them links to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Definitely they have a link to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. لكونه ما تم إلا بواسطة واحدة بيني وبين الإسلام بها. Okay, so his link with them definitely links him to the root of Islam, links him to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فاجتماعي بهم حصل لي خير كثير. فباجتماعي بهم حصل لي خير كثير. So due to my meeting with them, I got a lot of khair. لله المنة, to Allah belongs the favor. Allah is the one who favored me. وقد قرأوا كلهم رحمه الله على شيخ من مشايخ غرناطة. And all of them had read from one sheikh among the mashayikh of Granada. أعادها الله للإسلام. May Allah return Granada to Islam. يقال له الفقيه اللوتوري. الفقير اللوتوري. That is how this faqih they all learned from is called. رحمه الله تعالى. May Allah have mercy on him. ونفعنا به, and give us and make us benefit from him. It says فإنه كان رجلا صالحا. He was a righteous man. ولي الله. He was وليا لله. He was also very close to Allah. فاضلا, virtuous. زاهدا, he was also how do we call it, ascetic, yani one practicing asceticism. Okay, wari'an, was fearful of Allah, was pious. Arifan, was a knower of Allah, he has firm knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salikan, also a mystic. ذا مناكب ظاهرة مشهورة, he had a lot of good traits. Manakib bimana manqaba, a good trait, something that is worth mentioning. He has a lot of them, popular manakib that are apparent, everybody knew. Wa karamatin zahira, and he also has a lot of wonders around him. Wonderful things happened around him. Karamatin zahira ma'thura, that has been narrated across generations. قد قرأ القرآن الكريم في مكتب الإسلام بغرناطة قبل استيلاء العدو عليها. He had read Quran al-Karim in the Islamic library in Granada before the enemy took over it. Istila, to take over something. because the enemy took over Granada. وهو ابن 8 أعوام, whilst he was 8 years old. وقرأ الفقه وغيره على مشايخ أجلاء حسب الإمكان. على مشايخ عفوا ممنوع من الصرف. وقرأ الفقه وغيره على مشايخ أجلاء. He read fiqh from scholars that were great scholars, حسب الإمكان, due to per his ability, حسب الإمكان, however he can pick it from them. لأن الوقت ضاق في السر والإعلان, because the time became narrow in secret and even in public. Why? لشدة القتال والحصر, due to the severeness of the fight going on then, والحصر, and also the confinement. الذي كان عليهم مع صغر سنه. At that time, there was severe fighting around, and there was something like a curfew, or the Muslims were just being monitored. You were covered all around, so time was really not by their side. ثم بعد مدة يسيرة انتزعت غرناطة من أيدي المسلمين أجدادنا. And then after a short while, مدة يسيرة بمعنى مدة قصيرة, short while, انتزعت Garnata was stripped from the hands of the Muslims, our grandfathers, أجدادنا, our ancestors. وقد أذن العدو في ركوب البحر. The enemy he's referring to here was the non-Muslims at that time that were pushing the Muslims away. The adu, the enemy, had permitted for the riding of the sea. You can pick a boat or something. وَالْخُرُوجُ مِنْهَا أي من غرناطة لمن أراده. So the enemy was fighting them and permitted that if you're a Muslim, you can pick a boat or a ship and then go away from Garnata. وَبَيْءِ ما عنده وإتيانه لهذه الديار الإسلامية. So they allowed that you can take a ship and go away and also sell whatever that it belongs to you and go to the Muslim countries. أبقاها الله تعالى عامرة بالإسلام إلى يوم الدين. May Allah keep it on Islam. May Allah make Islam remain in it until the day of judgment. He says وذلك في مدة 3 أعوام. And that was within 3 years. There was a fight and pressure and all that. It says ومن أراد أن يقيم على دينه وماله فليفعل بعد شروط اشترطوها. And whoever wanted to keep his religion and keep his money as well, his wealth as well, then he will do that after fulfilling the conditions that they set. وإلزامات كتبها عدو الدين على أهل الإسلام. And some instructions, ilzamat, some necessary instructions, some compulsory rules that the enemy of Islam wrote for the people of Islam. You have to follow that rule if you want to still stay in Granada and keep your money. فَلَمَّا تَحَرَّكَ لِذَلِكَ أَجْدَادُنَا. So they all did not choose to stay. They decided that we will move out. وَعَزَمُوا عَلَى تَرْكِ دِيَارِهِمْ. And they decided they will leave their houses. They don't care. They will leave everything they have behind and go. Okay, azamu ala, they determined to leave their houses, wa amwalihim, and their money. Says wa mufarakati awtanihim, and also leave their country, lil khuruj min bainihim, to leave, to go away from the enemy. وجاز إلى هذه الديار التونسية والحضرة الحضراء بعثة من جاء إليها حينئذ. And so some of them, they moved to الديار التونسية. Okay, والحضرة الحضراء. So they started traveling away. And it says بعثة من, a group, a mission, a group went out and they went to the other places. They went to other abodes. Is in that time. ودخلوا في زقاق الأندلس المعروف بهذا الاسم. And they went into the street. زقاق بمعنى عزيقة, يعني the narrow street. So they entered into the narrow street of Andalus. المعروف بهذا الاسم, المعروف بهذا الاسم, I'm thinking this is the اسم, الهضرة الخضراء. So they had taken to the street to leave. وذلك سنة 200 and that was the year that will be in the year 92, I think. Yes, the year 92. I think that will be Hijriya. The year 902 is Nataini, what is Umi'a, the year 902 Hijriya. The year 902 Hijriya. That's وَكَذَلِكَ لِلْجَزَائِرِ. So some of them, they've went out to different places. Okay, they went out to different places, entered the street of Andalus. They've took to the street. Some also are going to Jazira, that is Algeria. Some are going to Tutuan. I think it's also a place in Morocco. I think. Fas is also Marrakesh. It's also in Morocco. وغيرها and other places. ورأى العدو العزم فيهم لذلك. The enemy realized that no, these people are not ready to stay here, to be under our oppression. All of them are going. لذلك, due to that, نقض العهد. They broke the deal. They broke the deal that they've signed, because they've said that you can go out, you are allowed to to sell whatever belongs to you and leave. You can take to the sea, you can, but then they broke the deal, al-ahd, the deal that they have between them. They broke it, their promise. فردهم رغم عن أنوفهم من سواحل البحر إلى ديارهم. So now the enemies came back, the Muslims who were at the coast, of the river or the beach, they wanted to leave. The enemy now raddahum ragma unufihim. Ragma unufihim bimana by force, even though they disliked it. Anasa adribuhu ragma anfika. I'll beat him regardless of what you think or regardless of what you want. Okay, so they returned the Muslims back to their houses in Granada. They still wanted to rule over them. وَمَنَعَهُمْ كَهْرًا, and they prevented them by force, كَهْرًا. عَنِ الْخُرُوجِ وَاللُّحُوكِ بِإِخْوَانِهِمْ. Some had already left. They prevented these ones from going by force, so that they will catch up with al-luhuk, bimana catching up, so that they will catch up with their brothers and their qaraba, their relatives. Lidiyar al-Islam, going to the other places of Islam, other countries where Islam is, like Morocco, Maghreb, and then the Algeria and all these places. But these people prevented them. It says, وَقَدْ كَانَ الْعَدُوُّ يُظْهِرُ شَيْئًا وَيَفْعَلُ بِهِمْ آخَرَ. The enemy used to show you some face, and then he will act against that. They will tell you, no, we are in peace. Then you find them attacking you. مع أن المسلمين أجدادنا استنجدوا مرارا بملوك الإسلام. Even though the Muslims then, they sought help, istanjada, to seek assistance, to seek help, to seek aid, to seek rescue. Miraran, couple of times. Bimuluk al-Islam, from the kings of Islam at that time, from the rulers of Islam across the world. Kamaliki Fas, like the king of Fas at that time, wa Misr and Egypt at that time. فَلَمْ يَقَعْ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا إِلَّا بَعْدُ مُرَاسَلَاتٍ لِيَقْضِيَ اللَّهُ أَمْرًا كَانَ مَفْعُولًا. Nothing came from them except some letters, some murasalat, some letters here and there. Nothing came until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fulfilled his promise. So, ثُمَّ بَقِيَ الْعَدُوُّ يَحْتَالُ بِالْكُفْرِ عَلَيْهِمْ غَضَبًا. So those that were now in Granada, the Muslims that were prevented from leaving, the enemy started imposing kufr, disbelief, upon them. Ghadaban, with anger. They were forcing it on them. فَابْتَدَأَ يُزِيلُ لَهُمُ اللِّبَاسَ الْإِسْلَامِيَّةِ. The enemy started taking the dress of Islam from them. Bimana, they are stripping them of their Islam. وَالْجَمَاعَات, and their groups. وَالْحَمَّامَات. Hammamat, let's say washrooms, or it has other meanings, but then wal hammamat and their washrooms, wal mu'amalat al-islamiyya, and their Islamic relations, dealings, shay'an fa shay'an, bit by bit. The enemy was stripping all this away from them. مع شدة امتناعهم والقيام عليه مرارا. Even though the Muslims were trying to stay away from that, they were fighting against that. والقيام عليه مرارا وقتالهم إياه. The Muslims were fighting against them. These people were also forcing their belief on the Muslims. إلى أن قضى الله سبحانه ما قضى سبق في علمه, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made what happened happen as He has already decreed it. He says, فَبَقِينَا بَيْنَ أَظْهُرِهِمْ, and then we remained in their victory. The Muslims became the minority. وَعَدُوُّ الدِّينِ يَحْرُقُ بِالنَّارِ أو يحرق بالنار من لاحت عليه أمارة الإسلام. The enemy of Islam was burning with fire anyone that the sign Amaratul Islam, the sign of Islam, appeared on him. So if you should dress in jalbab, dressing of Muslims, you should pray, they should see you praying or anything, they would burn you. وَيُعَذِّبُهُ بِأَنْوَاءِ الْعَذَابِ, and they will punish such a person with types of punishment. فَكَمْ أَحْرَقُوا, how many people they burnt. وَكَمْ عَذَّبُوا, how many people they punished. وَكَمْ نَفَوْا مِنْ بِلَادِهِمْ, how many people they sacked from their religion, they evicted from their land, they exiled. نَفَى بِمَنَى to exile. وَضَيَّعُوا مِنْ مُسْلِمٍ, and how many Muslims they made them lose their Islam. فَإِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Of course, if any musibah affects a Muslim, what the Muslim is required to say is إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. And so you realize that here he actually completes the article with this, and this is just perfect. The way he ended with فَكَمْ أَهْرَقُوا وَكَمْ عَذَّبُوا وَكَمْ نَفَوْا مِنْ بِلَادِهِمْ وَضَيَّعُوا مِنْ مُسْلِمٍ فَإِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Indeed, to Allah we belong, and to Him we shall return. As the Quran says in Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 15 says, الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. This brings us to the end of this text, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, it has been a lengthy one, but of course we learned a thing or two. Don't forget to leave a like, and don't forget to share for others to also benefit. And we are heading towards the end, inshallah. May Allah see us through, and may Allah grant us beneficial understanding, and may Allah grant us the ability for the words to stay in our brains and our heads so that we can use them. Till we meet again, have a very good Arabic time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.